Welcome back to the NAO show. We have another week of fantastic analysis. Oh, wait. It's only two of us. Mike's not here, Mark? What'd you do with Mike?
Mediocre analysis, maybe, without Mike.
We can't hit the high standard of fantastic analysis without Mike.
No, we are Mike-less. Well, not the kind of Mike you're talking to, but, Mike Deasy-less.
With that, this train is going to go off the rails. Whoop! We're going to fly off these things. We're going to evaluate 5 rookies this week and go through them and see if we think they're going to have a same or better year in the year coming, or they're going to have that sophomore slump.
You used your monster truck voice. I like that.
Monster truck rally. How you feeling this week, Marky Mark?
Feeling wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, you should feel wonderful with your quarterback being under contract now.
Oh, yeah. Did we not talk about that last week? I guess it was more recent, huh? Yeah, no.
It's been a long week, Marky Mark.
I'm doing, man. I'll tell you. Yeah, no, I'm real happy. When they were talking about trading for Wilson and crap like that, I was like, come on, man, just sign Dak. He's been there doing his thing, and he wants to be there. Glad he's going to be there. So only 4 years, but I mean, could lead to another contract later. So we'll see what he does here.
All right, Marky Mark, we got a couple trades to knock out. Let's break it down, big guy.
Yes, sir. Let's start it off with the underdogs trading with Silly Dilly. So the underdogs received Juju Smith-Schuster, pick 24 in the 2021 draft, and a 2022 first rounder. And Silly Dilly received pick number 6 in the 2021 draft. So just right off the bat, I think the underdogs probably got the better of this trade a little bit, but I know that Dylan and I had talked about, he was talking to me about pick number 3 and talking about being willing to pay up a little bit. And so I think that's what he ended up doing with pick number 6 when he couldn't get pick number 3 from me. So I think it's a good trade for both sides based on what they wanted. I think Dylan, he wanted to get another pick in the first round. He's got 3 total picks in the first round this year now. Underdogs got Juju going to a new team. If used correctly, he could be definitely a good high upside guy there. Pick 24 is not a bad pick at all. And then a first rounder in 2022, which I think gives them 3, if I'm not mistaken.
It does.
So I really like it for both sides. Really a good trade, I think, overall. What do you think, Sean?
I like the trade too. And I might be out on a bubble, but I actually like it for Silly Dilly better. Because we've kind of seen it, seen 2 forms of rebuild. I'm not throwing Silly Dilly into that rebuild, but he's definitely trying to retool, which is apparent with him he went and bought 3 first-round picks. He didn't have any first-round picks before we got into real, the off season. And then he went out and bought 3 of them. And that meant giving up a lot. So those 3 picks, they're in the mid to late first round, but you got to expect them to be either starters this year, definitely on their team starters, maybe even starters on his lineup this year. So I think for what he was planning on doing and what his focus was, I think it was a great move. And obviously the underdogs are just, not to give him too much credit because I don't want to do that. Evan's head's blowing up as it is every time I say his name in the show. Evan. But they went from having 3 picks this year in the first round to having 3 picks next year in the first round. So good work from both teams, in my opinion.
Well, I think they had 5 at one time, didn't they?
Yeah, they had 5. They sold 2, turned around and sold the 3rd one to Silly Dilly. Now they got the 1 and 2, and they're sitting pretty.
Yeah. Now they have done some good moves in the off season, for sure. Well, Sean,
we're gonna go ahead and go into our second trade of the week. We got Marlon Mack that went to that other guy. He got the second round pick from Run It Back 2020. And Humpty Dumpty got a early second round pick in the 21 draft and a fifth round pick in the 2022 draft. I think this was really funny trade because in the chat, everyone watches the chat, which I love. The chat is my 20-minute break in the middle of the day, you know. Humpty Dumpty throws Marlon Mack up there onto the trade board. And who's the first one to say something about it? That other guy. He goes, "Oh, I'm good. I don't need him." Not 25 minutes later, this trade's getting pushed through the door. I was just like, yeah, that tracks. That tracks. What'd you think there, Marky Mark?
Yeah, funny. That was funny to me too. So two at a time gets the handcuff for Jonathan Taylor, possible handcuff. I think, interesting to me that points wise is the first trade that the what's his name, Swampback Donkey Hump. I think that's how you say it.
Humpty Dumpty, yeah.
Yeah, you call him Humpty Dumpty. Yeah. Swampback Donkey Hump got the points on this one. First time I think since he started trading in the league, but I still kind of like it for Ian a little bit better. Only thing is, I just two time, yeah, that other guy,
Yeah, government names.
I just kind of wonder. It's worth the flyer for him, and he got that pick 17 thrown in with it. If he hadn't gotten that, I would have definitely been a little more off this trade. But now he kind of swapped pick 14 for pick 17. He moved back and he got Marlon Mack. It's a good flyer to take. Mack had the Achilles injury, and it'll be he got it in the beginning of the season, so he's gonna it's usually a 1-year injury. So it's going to be kind of questionable if Mack is ready for the beginning of the season or not, what kind of shape he'll be in. So a little bit of a flyer there, but if he can get back to the form he had in 2018, 2019, then he'll be a good handcuff. So not a bad move for him to go back 3 picks and get the potential handcuff. And of course, the Swamp Donkey moved up a few spots in that round, pick number 14 overall. The 2022 fifth is, kind of a whatever. Let's throw that in. But yeah, definitely good for both of them. So another good even trade. It was really close in points too. So not much to talk about there, except for the fact that it's the first time he got more points than the other side.
When I'm seeing all these trades from Humpty Dumpty, I'm just waiting for the reaping after the draft. His bench is just gonna be medieval times with the freaking guillotine, just like bink, bink, bink. People are just gonna be dropping. He's gonna have to drop like half his bench to fill all the rookies he's gonna draft.
Yeah, he could get the last laugh though. He's gonna load up on young talent, and
he's gonna have a lot of talent.
Yeah, and if I'm him, I don't know what he'll do when he gets into the draft, but people want to move up to get their guy. Having the picks right there is not a bad thing. I traded. I did pretty well last year trading away that number 11 pick. Even though AG worked out.
You're so modest.
Nah, but AG worked pretty good for those guys. But I also got in the end, I got McLaurin out of it, and which I was glad with the end result. It took a couple of moves to get there, but I ended up getting McLaurin out of it. But yeah, I just didn't really. The guys I wanted weren't there, and I was higher on some guys that I knew I could get later in the round. So I made that trade, and I'd be doing that kind of thing if I was the Swamp Donkey, man. I'd be looking to do a little bit of wheeling and dealing during the draft. We got 20. I don't know if he knows we got 24 hours between picks, so he's got all kinds of time to wheel and deal.
Oh man, I can just see as soon as he goes on the clock, people are just gonna be like, "So, what you think about that trade? I got this guy. I'll move up." And
Yeah.
he's just going to be like, max value. If you want this trade, you're going to give me max value.
Yeah. Yeah. Get him on the hook, man. That's the way to go. And if there's guys on a roster of the guy that's coming at him, he maybe can make something out of it if they're the guys he likes, So it gives him a chance to either pick the guy he wants there in the draft or pick the guy that he likes on the rosters coming at him. So
Yep.
I like the position he's in.
Everyone thinks he was giving up guys, but he's going to be on the backside of this receiving end. Whenever somebody's like, hey, can I get that first round pick? And he's going to be like, oh, can I get your starting wide receiver and a guy on the upside? Oh, yeah, that's equal value during the draft, my friend.
Yeah, he can do a lot with it. I think you'll have the most fun of any of us during the draft with all those picks.
That's going to be a long week for Swamp Donkey. Golly.
Well, let's move on to our rookie talk. So we're just going to, like Sean said, we're going to talk a little bit about 5 rookies that we saw have good seasons and whether they can keep it up or if they might hit that sophomore slump. So let's go to it. First, we're going to talk about Justin Herbert, quarterback from the LA Chargers. He is rostered by Frank's Beauties, and Mike was quick to point out that he was the official rookie of the year in the NFL. Just to twist the knife on Sean's side. So let's just do some back and forth on him, Sean. So Herbert had 4,336 yards passing, 31 TDs against 10 interceptions. He was the QB number 9 in fantasy with a 66.5 completion percentage. So those are some pretty big numbers, some pretty good numbers. What do you think right off the bat there, Sean, with those numbers? What did you think about his season? Do you think that's sustainable?
I actually think he may be able to sustain this. But if there's anybody on our list of the 5 rookies that we're going to talk about that I think is more likely to have a slide back in his sophomore year, it's the quarterback, just because of the position. I think it's more easily seen. Like, it's more visible to the naked eye, the slide back on a quarterback, than it is a wide receiver not getting 100 receptions, getting 80 receptions. It's easily set away for wide receiver. Oh, he just didn't get the ball thrown to him, like it was the offense, not him, blah, blah, blah. We don't see what's happening in practice. We don't see what's happening in the weight room, what have you. So if anybody in our group is going to have a slide back, I think it might be Herbert. But I will go on the record and say that he will probably not have that. I don't think he's going to have that.
Well, what I see was in the first 9 games, he averaged 24.30 points per game. In the next 5, he was down to 16.24 points per game. One of those was against the horrible Las Vegas defense. So if you threw that one out in those 5 against Buffalo, New England, Atlanta, Denver, he averaged 13.31 points per game. So I just wonder if maybe the defenses were figuring him out a little bit after watching some tape. That's always a big thing with quarterbacks. They can start off on a roll. The defensive coordinators start looking at tape and they figure things out. And a lot of times they'll figure out a way to slow him down or stop him. And so the mark of a good quarterback is, can he overcome that and hit that next level? Somebody like Josh Allen is a good example of probably somebody who, peaked and then went down and then, hit that next level again.
I love that you brought up Josh Allen, because Josh Allen to me is the stereotypical guy that we all thought was going to go down in his sophomore year. And he did. He went down a little bit in his sophomore year. But coaching and offensive play calling in his 3rd year really, really helped him. His accuracy went up. All of his analytics went up with individual coaching and Josh Allen having the experience to get through a full year. I think your point about his points per game going down in the second half of the season was a lot of Justin Herbert figuring out how to get through a full NFL season and keep care of his body. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he is 23 years old and he's probably in the best shape of his life at 23, but getting hit by 300-pound tackles and, like defensive tackles and ends all season, it's still going to put some wear and tear on your body. So I think you're right in the fact that a lot of defensive coordinators are going to have 16 games on them, 17 games on them to figure out what they're going to do. But I'm going to counter that with offensive coordinators know that is what they're doing. And hopefully Justin Herbert can trust his coaching to put him in the best position to be the best person he can be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now the rookie wall is a real thing where they hit that point where usually they're used to being done with the season and they still got several games to play. And if they get in the playoffs, it's even more. So yeah, I'll give you that for sure. I like that the Chargers brought in Corey Linsley at center. Probably could be the top center in the league, one of the top, if not the best center in the league. So that's a good piece to put in front of him. I really like that move. I had a couple of next generation stats. I like these sometimes. So
the next gen.
Let me share a couple with you.
All right.
So this is the longest completed air distance. So this is the longest pass from the quarterback's hand to the receiver's hand in the air. His best for the year was 63.2 yards. And that was good for second in the league. Only behind your boy, Deshaun Watson at 64 or 63.4. So, I mean, right there at it, So that's a cannon, man. That is a freaking cannon.
A rocket for an arm.
I mean, the dude is 6'6", and what is he, 235, 240? He's a big guy. Not quite linebacker build, but man, he's just a big dude. So the other one that I liked a lot was his completion percentage above expectation was 4.6%. So that means that if his receivers did their job 100% of the time, his completion percentage could have been 67, more around the 67, 68 range. And that's damn good.
That's damn good.
So those are some fun stats, I thought. So I don't know. The end of the year stats concern me a little bit. I'll give you the rookie wall. It's going to be, he's going to be very interesting to see how he comes out now that they got tape on him. How is he kick it up a notch, or is he going to have that sophomore slump? It's, to me, it's hard to call based on those end of the year stats. I'd say he could be a little bit of a regression candidate.
Well,
what's your final analysis?
My final analysis on Justin Herbert is that Justin Jefferson should have been the rookie of the year. Let's talk about Justin Jefferson.
Let's move on to Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson, my man, LSU, number 2, drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. He was also drafted number 7 by yours truly in the inaugural NAO rookie draft. He was terribly, terribly disrespected in both NFL and NAO Rookie of the Year drafts. I will go on the record to say that every time I have the ability to do that.
Rookie of the Year voting, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
didn't go the way you wanted it to.
But don't get me off subject. Justin Jefferson is going to have as good or better sophomore year. Let me tell you why, Marky Mark. I know you're dying to ask me.
Just dying to hear it.
Dying. Let me tell you. They still have Thielen over there. He's a wide receiver 1 that's in a wide receiver 2 slot. He's going to be pulling double teams just like he was last year. Justin Jefferson is going to have another year under his belt. Let me tell you why that's important. He was a 2-star recruit out of high school. He got some coaching, he got some time under his belt, and look where he is now. He has to be the best wide receiver coming into the draft last year. Easy. Jerry Jeudy, where'd he be last year? Nowhere. He wasn't breaking Randy Moss records.
Drew Lock.
Drew Lock? I don't even want to hear it. Come on. Kirk Cousins is way better than Drew Lock. I'm not going to say that ever.
No, that's what I'm saying, Jerry Jeudy. It's hard to compare because he had Drew Lock, not Kirk Cousins. But I digress. Go ahead, please.
Who cares? Justin Jefferson is going to have a pretty good year, I think. If not better. If he can get some more touchdowns, woo, it's going to be fire. What do you think?
Well, let's look at the numbers. He had 125 targets, which is awesome. You love 100 targets or more for a guy on your squad. So he had 88 receptions, 1,400 yards, which was a rookie record, of course.
Yes, sir.
7 TDs. Sorry?
I said, yes, sir.
Oh, yes, sir. 7 TDs. He was the wide receiver 6 with 14.4 points per game. So you mentioned the touchdowns, and that's the thing that jumps off the page to me too, is that I think he can, whether or not he can repeat the 1,400 yards, I think he can beat that 7 touchdowns. So I kind of agree with you. I don't look to him to regress. I look to him to kind of hold serve there, keep the same type of numbers going on, maybe even improve on them. Like you say, if he can make a jump in the second year, man, it could be something special.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you there, Ross.
couple of interesting stats for him. So he was number 1 in the league in route participation.
Route participation? What the hell does that mean?
That means that 100% of the time he was on the field, he was running a route, whatever you want to call it. Which is not always the case. Sometimes they're blocking, sometimes doing other things, So yeah, he was number 1 in route participation, number 9 in target share at 25.7%. And he had, I always like I like to look at first downs. 66% of his receptions were for first downs. So that's an awesome stat there. He's moving the chains. He's an important guy. It means he's either getting them in early downs, he's getting them, or third down, maybe he's getting you that first down. That's an important guy.
Well, his yards per target were 11.2 yards. So if he catches the ball, normally it's going to be a first down. And his yards per catch were almost 16 yards a catch. Yeah, I think if you can have anybody on your team that's going to get you 16 yards every other time he touches the ball, I think that's going to help the team.
Yeah, sounds like you're, looking at a lot of the stats. He was top 20 in a lot of different things. So, you can go off into a lot of different splinters on the stats, but, no matter where you went, he was looking good in all of them. So, yeah, I'm definitely high on Jefferson. I told you that I thought that was probably the pick of the draft, and I'll stand by that. And I think he's going to keep it going. I don't see them bringing anybody to compete. Thielen might, Thielen's going to get his, and Thielen was definitely more of a end zone target. Mm-hmm. But I think Jefferson with a year under his belt can probably take away some of that from Thielen this year. Thielen's getting up there in age, but if they don't bring anybody in, which I don't see him doing, then I just see a lot more of the same for him next year. Well, let's move on to our number 3 rookie that we're excited about this season, and that is James Robinson.
Boo!
The rookie of the year in the NAO, as voted on by the NAO league members, a majority.
Not me.
A majority of the NAO league members.
Well, majority of y'all are wrong.
Stick that in your pipe and smoke it there, Sean. So let's give you the numbers. 1,070 yards rushing, 344 yards receiving, 10 total TDs. He was the RB number 7 with 16.14 points per game in 14 games played. That's it's pretty damn good for was he undrafted free agent, right?
Not in the NAO. He was drafted in the 5th round.
Undrafted free agent. You're right. He did go in the 5th round. We'll get to that, but give me your initial thoughts on James Robinson as to whether he can repeat that or if he's going to hit that sophomore slump.
I think he's going to be close to repeating. I don't think he'll go much over what he did, because anything over 1,000 yards, unless you're Dalvin Cook, it's pretty hard to go over 1,000 yards as a running back. And it doesn't look like he was getting the targets in the passing game that would give him the all-purpose yards to go to that 2,000 mark. I mean, to hold him to that standard of 2,000 is unrealistic anyways, but I think he could definitely go to the 800 and still be like valuable towards fantasy owners, you know? I think he'll still break that 900 mark at least. I think where we may see more of an uptick in his next year is actually in the passing game. He did have 60 targets and only missed 11 of them. I think that's going to help the passing game be more vertical, because I think with the Schmitz Jr., how do you say his name? Chenault Jr.?
Oh, Laviska Shenault.
Yeah. I think with him and Chark, and when they get Galladay in there, it's going to be crazy.
Galladay? You calling Galladay to Jacksonville?
Yeah. I think Galladay is going to go to Jacksonville just so Tua Time can suck it with that freaking Chark pickup.
They picked up somebody, didn't they? Can't remember now. Dang it! It seemed like they picked up a receiver. Is that where Jones went to? No, it wasn't where Jones went to. I'm sorry, I can't. Seemed like they picked up somebody, but I can't remember.
They did.
But yeah, we're talking about receivers now, and we're supposed to be talking about running backs here. So,
well, I really think James Robson's going to help. I think if he does anywhere close to what he did in his rookie year in the running game, he's going to be top 10 easy again. Top 10 running back in PPR and standard leagues. I think where his value is going to really skyrocket if they use him properly is in the short-term passing game, where he's going to get those half points for targets every time he gets the ball thrown to him. I think it's really going to help him.
That's a tough call, because we're probably talking apples and oranges, because we got a new coaching staff, and who knows who they're going to draft and what direction they're going to take there. They did bring in Carlos Hyde. I don't think that's a big threat to him. I actually think that's good for Robinson.
Yeah, me too.
Hyde is 31 or something like that. He's definitely past his prime as far as the running back's concerned, and got the connection to Meyer there. But I just think it's a depth piece. I don't think it's anything that's going to threaten him. So that gives me a little more hope for him. But I look at his ADP. He's going to the 209 right now in ADP, just behind Swift, Sanders, and Antonio Gibson. So that's where a lot of fantasy managers are valuing him right now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, even though he was an RB1 last year, he's being drafted as a lower end RB2 right now, and I think that's probably pretty smart, because it's hard to say what's going to happen with him. And I think the underdogs have been shopping him. They got a couple new running backs in the and on their roster, so they're looking to sell high maybe on Robinson there.
I don't know. I don't know if the underdogs are gonna really want to get rid of him. I mean, just for the pure fact of rub it in all of our faces, every time we talk something bad about Robinson, Evan loses his mind and goes, "Oh, you're all gonna see." What, we're all going to see him do what? He was 7th overall as a player. I mean, he can't do much more, like he's not going to be Cook, he's not going to be Dalvin Cook. He's not going to be CMC. He just doesn't play like those guys. You know what I mean? But he's still going to be a very valuable piece to anybody that has him. I think Silly Dilly was a stroke of genius to freaking draft him in the 5th round, because if he wasn't going to get drafted in the 5th round, I was going to pick him up in the freaking supplemental draft in a heartbeat. But
He wouldn't have got to you. I picking at 5'10", man. I was just like rubbing my hands like that's the guy I wanted to fall to me. He's the last guy I had a draft grade on. And if you remember, and when I finally did pick my um, the last pick in the draft, I took almost the whole 24 hours because I'm going through all my undrafted free agent types that I'm thinking about, you know, um, trying to rank them because I didn't expect that Robinson would be drafted. I really thought he would go undrafted and I'd get him there at pick 50. So yeah, I'll give Dylan a lot of credit for that one, man. So then he traded him, huh?
Saw the gold written on the wall, and he
Yeah,
picked him up. He got him.
yeah.
I mean, I think the only other person that we've even really talked about in the last 2 rounds is Herbert and him. You know, I think Herbert was picked in the 4th round.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I'd have to pick up the draft for it. Robinson, though, he's got the side, 5'10", 220. He kind of hit the wall. He hit that rookie wall, and he missed the last 2 games, but they pretty much just shut him down. They had run the hell out of him, So they gave him some deserved days off. But he's got the size to be durable and to take that workhorse role. So
Yeah.
I'm really on the fence about him. If he was there late 2nd round, early 3rd, I think I'd pull the trigger. But I'm certainly not going to elevate him up into, a 1st round, early 2nd round kind of pick, because
I think that's a good point of view. I think he's a solid 3rd plus round, if I could say it like that. Like anywhere from the 3rd round and down. If you get him in any of those rounds, you're looking pretty darn good in a redraft league. And because you're going to go with the more established, what they're going to do, like a Cook or a Henry, you're like, the offense is going to be ran through these guys. You just put them in the RB1 and set it and forget it. But I think Robinson in a redraft league is going to be real nice in that RB2, maybe in a flex spot if you can get lucky enough that he drops that low. I don't think he drops that low. I think he's off the board in redraft leagues anywhere between 3rd and 4th round. Easy.
Oh yeah, like I said, right now he's going after Swift, Sanders, Antonio Gibson. So he's right in that area, right? Yeah, that's probably about the right area. Those are guys where, yeah, that's your RB2 that you're getting. So he would be kind of at the end of that list, I think. So that's probably a good place for him to go.
Just a quick correction before we get into Jonathan Taylor 1.01 draft pick. Herbert fully loaded was drafted by our boy Frank's Beauties in the 5th round.
Yeah, I thought it was 5th round.
So moving on to Jonathan Taylor. He was on the Hills team, RIP. And he got moved to, do I have to say his name? To a time. So Jonathan Taylor, he's got a new manager. He's on a new team this year. Obviously, he was worth the 1st overall pick in the NAO draft. He was 6 in PPR, just in front of our boy James Robinson. He had 1,100, almost 1,200 yards rushing. He averaged 5.4 yards a carry, 11 touchdowns on the ground. He was really, really used only as a running back. He wasn't really seen as a passing target. He only had 34 targets. He caught 36 of those 39 targets. So,
and he had 300 yards. That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at that, obviously he can catch the ball. He only missed 3 passes, and he can do stuff with it after the catch. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I personally think he has just as good a year. I mean, he's running behind the Indianapolis Colts offensive line. They are a solid offensive line. They're not going to have Wentz throw the ball 70, 60 times a game. They're going to depend on this run game. And I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be the 1st down, 3rd down, 2nd down, 17th down guy. Like, he's going to be on the field all game. He's never going to come off the field.
No, I agree with that. And he's, I think to me, he's the one slam dunk that, and the only thing that's going to hold him back would be an injury because he's got that line that's just awesome. The dude is 5'11", 221 pounds, so he can handle the workload. Yeah, I like his work in the passing game, not known as a pass catching back, but who is out of Wisconsin. So, what he did in the passing game this year is definitely um, gives me a lot of optimism on him. 15.7 points per game. Like you said, RB6, 12 total touchdowns. Yeah, I really like the fact that Steele went out and got his boy. That's two trades he made with that same roster. Yeah, Saquon and uh, and Jonathan Taylor from the same roster, now on his roster. As much as I hate to say it, he did a good job there.
Don't even get me started on Saquon Barkley. I could
Yeah.
go all night about why I dislike Saquon Barkley,
Well,
but
yeah,
it's not because he's a bad running back. It's because he never sees the freaking field. But
yeah,
go
he's had
ahead.
a rough time with that. Rough time with that. But yeah, that was a decent trade there. So Steele got him two a time, two a time. That's our boy two a time. He got him in pick number 11 for David Montgomery, pick number 4, and a 2022 first. I don't know if I think I told you, most of the league doesn't know that I almost had Taylor myself. I had a pretty similar offer. It was a first rounder in 21, first rounder in 22, and I was offering either Deontay Johnson or Chase Edmonds, kind of pick your player. And I know Josh liked both those guys. He declined it at first, and then the next week we heard he had a little bit of an ankle injury, and he came back to me and said, "Hey, I think I'll go ahead and make that trade now." And I declined it then because I was trying to win a championship, and I was like, "Well, I don't want to give up Deontay for a guy with a bum ankle that may not be there for me." So I was pretty close to having Taylor myself, but I didn't pull that trigger and might regret that. We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
I know we got into the trade last week. I'm looking at this again, and I'm just like Montgomery and 2 firsts for a first and probably a wide receiver in the second. You know,
Yeah,
I
maybe.
mean, that's an early second, so who knows what he would take, but I think that's a pretty darn good trade.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm not so crazy about Montgomery. If we were talking, if we were going to put him in this conversation, I'd put him up for regression maybe though. He's all about volume. It's funny. There's tons of running backs that are buried on the depth chart that have a much better athletic profile than David Montgomery. But Montgomery has a volume. Volume is king, man. Volume is definitely king. And so if they don't bring anybody to compete with him, and I don't think Cohen is much of a threat to a lot of his
Yeah.
workload. He's still going to do his thing. So that was definitely getting a guy that you can plug into your lineup, and then you move up to pick 4 in the draft and a 2022 first. That's good on the Swamp Donkey side. And I thought Steele did a good job to get out of it. Pick 11 there. Again, kind of a swap of picks there. Um, you know, moved back, but still got Jonathan Taylor. So yeah, that's a good trade there. ADP wise, we got Taylor is all the way up to the 107.
107. Wow.
107. So here's the guys going before him. It's pretty interesting. It's CMC, Dalvin Cook, uh, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, and Devontae Adams. The only 6 that are going before Jonathan Taylor now. So I think a lot of people agree that he's going to keep up the pace as long as he does, as long as he stays healthy and doesn't get hurt or something.
Yes, sir. I think that's a good idea. That I think he'll be fine. I think he's a big guy, as you were saying. I mean, he's 5'11", 221 pounds. I'm sure he got ran through in Wisconsin. Every play was probably ran through that guy, so obviously I didn't see him in Wisconsin because I watch SEC football where college football is actually college football, not this minor league stuff in Wisconsin. But yeah, I think Taylor has nothing but upside right now, obviously.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, let's move on to our last rookie that we want to talk about here, and that is Cam Akers. So numbers aren't as big on him. He was more of a late season guy, but he ended up with 625 rushing yards, 123 receiving yards, only 3 total TDs. He was the running back number 46, and he averaged 8 fantasy points per game in 12 games. Another big dude at 5'11 and 212. What do you think? What are your initial thoughts? He wasn't I don't know if you call him he was a late season breakout. So does he continue that in the next year, or does he take a step back?
I think the LA Rams that we knew them last year is going to be completely different. Let me tell you why. They picked up Stafford. I know Stafford is kind of on the older side of the quarterback range, but he is a completely different quarterback than Goff. Goff, if you ever watch Goff try to run, it was like a toddler taking his first steps down the field. It was real horrible to watch. And Stafford is a way better quarterback than Goff will ever be. I think that's going to take a little pressure off the run game, which I think is going to benefit Cam Akers. But I think a lot of the hype around Cam Akers is recency biased. He did really good in the last few games of the season, which I will say that the Rams actually used him to his potential on the last few games, which might be foreshadowing or it might not be. I think Cam Akers is the biggest question mark in our group of 5. I think he has the potential to make a real big jump forward, but he also has the potential just to kind of womp it out in the second season.
Well, to me, if he, we got Sean McVay there still. If he gets that Todd Gurley role in a Sean McVay offense, then that's going to be something. And I think that's what most people are forecasting for him. I think I saw in the dynasty rankings, he was up to like number 15 overall. That's that's definitely counting on Todd Gurley kind of numbers, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
His ADP though is kind of people are being cautious. I think his ADP is the 3rd round, 6th pick, 306. He's
RB2, solid RB3.
Right. He's going right behind David Montgomery and Austin Eckler, and just before Joe Mixon. I was kind of surprised.
Oh, wow.
I included Mixon. I was pretty surprised to see him drop so far, but of course, he pissed off a lot of people last year. So
I don't know who you're talking about.
there are a lot of fantasy managers out there saying, I won't draft Mixon if he's there in the 12th round. So they're just mad at him for not playing last year. So yeah, that's the area he's going in. So I tend to think that Henderson I don't think was ever going to be the workhorse guy.
I agree.
I think Darrell Henderson is a good change of pace back there, down back. Somebody that can spell, the top guy for some carries in the game. But I really feel like Akers is going to probably take over the majority of the carries in that offense and still be involved in the passing game. The fact that he was in there as much as he was down the stretch, I think he's got the pass blocking down well enough to stay in there on 3rd downs. Mm-hmm. So I feel like he's going to be good. I've got him in my other dynasty. It's funny. I drafted him in this dynasty, in this league, traded him away. In the other league, I could have drafted him, but didn't, and ended up trading for him anyway. So, but he started out so slow. I kind of got him on the cheap. So I'm really looking forward to having him in my other dynasty league. Would love to have him in this league. I think he's gonna do it again. I think he's gonna build on what he did last year, and he's gonna be pushing for RB1 status this year.
You said that he started slow, but I think that was a lot of by design by Sean McVay. He didn't want to throw all the weight on him. especially without having any off season. Like all their meetings were Zoom meetings. They couldn't really figure out like if he was really comprehending, like you said, the third down blocking protection, all that. So it took a few weeks for Sean McVay to see, hey, this guy's actually jumping on the train, and like we can depend on him to block, if we need him to block or catch it when we need him to catch. And I think that was the difference between the middle of the season to the end of the season. Sean McVay, he's a very, very smart man. He was a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I don't know if y'all knew that. John Gruden was his mentor, just saying, when we won the Super Bowl, the first one. Boop, boop, boop. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there,
You're so cute with your 2 little Super Bowls.
When was the last time you won one?
Hey, it doesn't matter, man.
Was I alive?
You still got to go a long ways to catch up with the Cowboys. So.
Just back to what I was saying before I was very rudely interrupted. I think Cam Akers is going to do okay. I think like I said, there is a big question mark on how they're going to use him into the second year. I wouldn't be shocked if he blew up and is right around JT kind of numbers. I wouldn't be shocked if he had a down second year.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Did you want to talk about, he got moved a lot. Did you want to talk about any of the movement in the league or?
Nah, we've already talked about how crazy it is that he's been moved 17 zillion times. Not as bad as Brian Edwards, though.
No, he's definitely he's the belle of the ball. He's the one that's been moved around the most.
Like 9 times.
Yeah. But
now he's on. Aguilar's gone. He needs to be wide receiver 2 now. Like everybody was waiting for him to make the jump to wide receiver 2, and Aguilar is gone, and there's nobody to stop him to be wide receiver 2. And now he's going to be the guy that everyone was expecting him to be.
We'll see, man. The Raiders traded away, or I don't know, traded away. They got rid of their whole offensive line. I mean, they had a pretty decent offensive line.
They did.
And they're all gone. And they had cut Incognito. And then, they lose Hudson and Gabe Jackson. And they're like, let's bring Richie back. Got to bring Richie back. I don't know what the hell they're doing in Las Vegas, man. I love Brian Edwards, but we're off subject a little bit. But, man, I love Brian Edwards. But you're scratching your head. What the hell are they doing there? What are they doing? They brought in John Brown. So, I don't know. Maybe John Brown's going to be the Aguilar now. And Brian Edwards will still be, lost in obscurity there.
Well, just like I said, we took this train and drove it right into the field, right off the tracks. I hope you guys enjoyed our little back and forth on a few of our rookies. I hope everyone, besides Justin Jefferson, does real crappy, and everyone really hates that they didn't vote for him for the Rookie of the Year. He's going to get MVP of the whole freaking league next year when he has 2,000 yards receiving.
Glad to see you're getting over it. Really.
Yeah, I'm
glad to see you moving on.
We're really working on it.
Put in that work, man. Put it in.
It's a process, right?
Yes, sir.
You know what else is a process? Hating on 2 a time. Ian, you suck.